Okay, people. So it is my pleasure to introduce the great Tim MacKenzie-Smith, the director of Getting It Back, the story of Simande. Tim, thank
How
you
you
so
doing,
much.
man? All right.
Oh man, I'm great. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I really have been because your documentary, oh man, it was different to a lot of documentaries I've seen, which is interesting because I was talking to the guys from the Scala documentary yesterday actually,
Oh yeah.
and it's I kind of saw you both of your documentaries very close together, and they were both so different to the norm, right? And not to say the norm isn't good, but it's so like interesting and refreshing to see like this different kind of approach to to the craft. So yeah, man, I love this documentary because I love music, right? And so you know what I mean, watching it and just seeing the man, the legends you got was incredible. But how did this come about? Like, how was it that you thought, man, let's tell the story of Samande?
Yeah. I've been a fan since the early '90s or mid '90s. There was a mixtape going around my uni which had like a lot of rare groove. It was just called like Rare Groove on the side. There was no track list or anything like that, and it was a lot of great American stuff. And also there was a couple of tracks on there that had no clue who they were by, but I absolutely loved them. Like one in particular was my favorite on the tape. It was just absolutely magic, and years later, I realised that was Bra by Samande, because a mate of mine, I moved in with a mate of mine who was a proper collector, and he had some Samande records, and he was saying, "Have you heard of this band? They're called Samande. They're from." We were living in Streatham at the time. He was like, "They're from Brixton." I was like, "You're joking." Never heard of them. And he put it on, and I heard Bra, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's that tune I've been listening to for years." I had no idea what it was because it was kind of pre-internet, really. I mean, I moved in with him probably in the late '90s, but it wasn't. There's no streaming or YouTube. Or anything like
No.
that. So I only found out about it because my mate had it, and so then I went and obviously got the records, and it just blew me away. And it always did my head in that, well, why have I not heard it? I'm well into my music. Why have I not heard of this band? And they're also from the UK. And what happened to them?
Mm.
And then in 2014, they came back. They did a gig at Coco, and me and a lot of my mates all went down to that. And we found ourselves there, probably in our kind of late 30s at the time, as probably the pretty much the oldest people in the crowd. It was loads of there.
Yeah, I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah, and it was crazy. So, they've always been part of my life, really, for a long time. They became our band that we played whenever we had parties. We'd always put Samande on, the questions would always be the same, like, "Who the hell's this? Why don't I know them?" Or, "Oh my god, that's from that sample." So they were always in my mind and in my heart and in my soul. But in terms of in my work, it only really happened because I had been doing sport documentaries as a kind of my main bread and butter for about 5 years between 2012 and 2017. And I was getting kind of bored of it,
Mm.
because what I realized even then, and it's even worse now in terms of what style gets commissioned, really what was happening was people just wanted kind of really sort of celebrity profiles, really, with a little bit of insight, a little bit of behind
Yes.
the scenes. And in order to get those made, you had to see editorial control a little bit to people, and the process became a lot more problematic as time went on. And I just kind of I'd done either directing or producing or executive producing or whatever. I've probably done about 30 in 5 years. You've been involved in 30 in 5 years, and they become this weird exercise in nostalgia, really, because you're telling a story that people know, that
Mm.
and you're just trying to sprinkle in a little bit extra that they don't know. People want to, they want to watch if for example, you're doing a documentary on Joaquin and Patrick Vieira, which I did, which was really fun. Actually, that was probably my favorite one of those ones. But you know, you're telling a story that you know, but you watch it because you want to revisit rather than learn something essentially new.
Yeah.
So I was looking to change it up and just find a story that spoke to me, that I wanted to kind of um, go on a kind of investigative journey myself with it while I was making it. So, and then hopefully that would kind of then bring the audience along with me. And funnily enough, we actually used, on a documentary we did about Anthony Joshua for the BBC, we used Dove by Samande as the opening track. And their manager at the time started following me on Twitter, you know, and sort of let it be known that the band had seen it or whatever. And I was chatting to my mate Matt, who edited the film and produced it with me, who's also a massive Samando fan and went to that gig with me. I was like, man, I'm really bored of doing these. I think I need to do something else. And he goes, you need to do something, you know, what you really want to do. And I was like, well, it'd have to be something really cool like Samando. And he went, what? Yes, absolutely. Well, do it. And I was like, funnily enough, their manager started following me on Twitter, and he was like, well, we'll give him a call, you know. So that's how it started. And so I set up a meeting with Stephen Patrick of the band. And that was July 2017. I mean, it's such a long time ago now. It's mental. It's 6.5 years ago. Really just to kind of get a sense of whether they'd be up for it, and also to sort of get a sense of what they were like as characters, because, you know, you want to do a feature doc about someone, you need them to be able to carry it in terms of strength of character and all of that stuff. And I met them, and immediately I was like, oh my God, I've got to film with these guys because they're just so incredible, you know, funny, intelligent, passionate, brilliant people. I mean, you know, which makes sense given the kind of music they made. And we just sort of agreed to give it a crack, really. And you know, I was naive enough to just say, well, do you know what? I'm just going to start filming and see what happens. And what we started filming was so good. We were like, well, we've got to keep going. And then it was just, you know, by hook or by crook, getting shoots done, you know, as and when. Still doing bread and butter work at the same time because I needed to earn, you know, pumping our own money into it, all of that sort of stuff. And it just became a proper passion project where it was like, well, we just got to keep going until this is done. I think it's maybe 6 years, but you know, but that's the story of Samando. You got to wait.
Oh man, but boy, was it worthwhile. Oh my days, was it? And it you did it at the right time because the drummer, you know, he passed away. So
The percussionist Pablo,
yeah,
yeah.
so you were able to capture him and you know what I mean, just all of that stuff, which is so fantastic.
Yeah, it's
You
funny
know,
actually. When he passed, Pablo, I was gutted because I loved him so much. He's such an incredible guy, such a lovely, brilliant, little, quiet, mystical, funny, just with a glint in his eye. I just loved him to pieces, and it was devastating for everyone when he passed away. And I think the thing I was most gutted about was that he'd never get to see it because we were still editing at the time. And I knew he would have loved it because he was the band's biggest fan. You know, he really was. And you know, people see the film, they'll see that what he put himself through to get on stage. You know, despite battling illness, was
oh,
just
that was
incredible.
crazy.
Warrior.
Yeah, that was really insane. But it was just like with the whole yeah, what the thing that you reveal towards the end, and it's just like you've got to love something to do that. You
Yeah, and
really
he did
do.
love it. He was patiently waiting for 40 years for the band to get back together because he knew that it was unfinished and he wanted to finish the story, you know. And so, yeah, to your point, you know, we were able to be there with him in those kind of last few years while he was still doing it and loving it, you know, in his late 70s. And so, you know, it's a legacy thing there, you know. He's been captured for posterity, and that means a lot.
Yeah, that was just a perfect thing. That was a real perfect thing, you know, because you capture and you really get a sense of who they are. You know, it was just that great bit with Pablo. He's just like, I knew they'd get back together. We'd get back together. Just why did they take so long? Like, it was just hilarious, man. Like,
Yeah.
just everyone in the screening, just the atmosphere when it ended was just, everyone was just buzzed.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
that's great to
Oh
hear.
man, everyone just, there was just this energy in there, and you don't always get that. A lot of times, things finish and people just leave.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes there's a lot of conversation because it's just like so much to talk about. But with this, there was just this uplift, which I will say one of the only other times I can remember something like that was when I went to see a talk with Michelle Obama at the South Bank Center. When
Wow.
everyone left, everyone was just like, oh my God, yeah, we can do anything. Yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? And it was just this incredible atmosphere. And it was that kind of atmosphere leaving the Monday screening.
Well, that's really cool to hear, man. And that's a press screening, so that's a lot of people who do it for a job.
Yeah, yeah. Press screenings can be a little dry sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, this man, and I think part of it was just the band, the enthusiasm of the band, but the enthusiasm of everyone you got involved.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe the people I was seeing, like Maceo was just pumped.
He
Prince
was, man. What a
Paul, jeez.
legend.
Oh my days. Like, and you don't always see them cats, you know what I mean? Cool, Red Alert was up there. Just, man, I love hip hop, you know what I mean? I'm just rap, R&B, just, they were staples growing up. So seeing those people, and it's funny because last year, we went to see De La Soul at Royal Albert Hall, and Prince Paul came out, and just a load of other cats came out, and it was just, I didn't think I'd see Della. I never this. I was going to, and then it all got cancelled, which I was just gutted. There was a Native Souls tour got announced. I think it was like 97, and then what, I got tickets, and then the announcement came out. It was like, it's been Tribe Called Quest has split up and it's all cancelled, and I was just gutted. So seeing them was great, even though, I mean, Dub's not around anymore and everything like that. But man, then just seeing this, and just seeing Maceo just being like, just so gregarious. It was just,
Yeah.
man, it was fantastic.
Well, the funny thing about Maceo is I was trying to get hold of Maceo for ages because I spent, basically probably about three years of my life just stalking people about some. It was ridiculous. It was just I'd be let's going right. I reckon so and so. I reckon they'd like them. Go on, I'm going to find out. And funnily enough, most of the time, a lot of the time, we were right. Like Mark Ronson. I was like, I bet Mark Ronson likes Samande. And I found his manager, and like they got back to me within half an hour. I go, yeah, he'd love to do it. Maceo. It was harder to get hold of him. But the funny thing is the first time I met him was in Sweden when there's a scene where he meets the band.
Mm.
He's fanboying. He's just freaking out. But that was an accident. Because Master Ace, who's also in the film, who's an absolute legend, he was performing in Sweden on the same bill as Maceo the same day that Samande were performing in Sweden as well. And he emailed me like the day before saying, "Man, I just seen that Samande are playing as well. Do you reckon I could meet them?" And I was like going, "Hold on, what? You're in Sweden, they're in Sweden. Man, I need to come to Sweden."
So you weren't gonna be there?
I wasn't going to be there, and also
Oh
I had
shit!
no money. I had no money at the time, so I had enough money to get myself a flight or like to Sweden. And I'm going, well, I'm going to have to. Anything that happens, I'm going to have to film it on my phone because I've not got no crew. So I got there, and I'm just filming on my phone. And I took the guys to go and meet Master Race, right? And I'm in the cab with them, and it's like a really hilarious cab ride where everyone's just Like the banter in the back between the boys was hilarious. So I'm basically in the cab paying the driver, and I just hear all this sort of screaming, and I look out, and there's Maceo like screaming because he's bumped into Samande, and I'm going shit, and I'm getting my phone out, like, start filming it.
Whoa.
Because he was with someone who went to Samande's gig that afternoon. It was like at a festival, and he went, "Man, that's Samande's," and just Maceo's like, "What? What? Oh my god! Oh my god!" So that was brilliant. And that was an accident, and that's just shows that, when you're doing documentaries, sometimes you just got to be there. It doesn't matter what the camera is.
Yeah. But, watching that bit, it didn't seem like it was, you know, less quality footage. Like it
Well,
all.
we are quite lucky now in the like smartphones do capture pretty good quality footage now. Like, so I wouldn't do a whole film like that, but ultimately, that it gets you out of a hole, and you're always in holes when you're doing documentaries. So having that as another tool if you got no cash is quite helpful.
Man, that is, boy, that's something. That is so, like, you're not meant to be in Sweden. You find out everyone's there, you go, and then you capture something that you didn't even expect to capture. That's
Yeah, man.
fantastic.
Because we went there, and obviously Master Ace met them, and that was brilliant as well. But yeah, to get that kind of accidental magic from Maceo, and then obviously I met his manager there as well. That's where we got the interview from, because I made contact with his manager, who also was a massive fanboy of Samanda and was freaking out, and he's been a brilliant supporter of the film since. And so next time they were in the UK, he was just doing a DJ set at the Jazz Cafe. And it was literally a month, I think, a month before COVID kicked off. And then we got Maceo, and we just got a little green room in the Jazz Cafe, and for me, as also a massive hip hop head and just a lover of music, it doesn't get much better than sitting in basically a cupboard with Maceo from De La Soul talking about tunes. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, man.
Like Norma J, I was with Norma J and the Prince of Wales in Brixton, and I'm just sat there talking about music with Norma J, who's one of the biggest influences of my entire life when it comes to music. And I'm just chatting music with Norma J. I'm going, I can't believe this is happening.
But he's so, the thing with like Norman, he's so quiet though. He's
Yeah.
so unassuming. Like,
Yeah.
I back in the day, I was doing some work with Jazzy B and this production company. We were putting on like events and stuff like that. And Norman J came in the office one day, and I'm just like, but he was just like, "Hey, yeah, I was just wondering if Rachel's there. Yeah, I just wanted to sort." And I'm just like, "It's Norman fucking J, man. Like, what?" You know what I mean? But he's so unassuming. But god damn, he's a legend.
Oh man, yeah, hero, absolute hero. The amount of times I've going to good times at Carnival, or seeing him in clubs or whatever, or just buying his CDs, and where his good time CDs and stuff like that. The amount of music he's put me onto, probably more than anyone else on the planet. And so to be sitting there talking about music with someone like that is just, it's mind blowing.
Oh man, that must have been such a treat.
It all was like, it's hard, man. Really hard getting these things made, and it's all the peripheral kind of stuff that's really important, but the financial stuff and all of that, everything else that's just a drag. But when you're on set, for want of a better word, but when you're on location and you're speaking to, someone who's one of your musical heroes, or you're capturing a moment of magic like with Maceo, and you're just there pinching yourself, going, so when it gets tough, and it does get tough, the edit's tough, the financial side's really tough. It's good to have those things to cling on to, just to kind of make sure you remember how important it was and the joy you felt when you were actually shooting it. It's always important, because if I always think, if I feel like that, I'm hoping the audience is going to feel like that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely felt like that. It was just, there's Man, like I remember back in the day, right? I'd go to like Black Market, I'd go to Reckless, just all the record shops,
Yeah,
and I'd just be digging in them crates, man, just looking for albums. Because like you'd listen to an old track, and it's something that man, you just don't get anymore, right? Because you listen to stuff back then, and you'd be like, I think that sounds like it's a premiere beat. That sounds like it's
yeah,
Pete Rock. I think that's oh shit, who is that? Who is that? And then you'd look at the liner notes, you'd be like, fuck yes, I knew it was them. You can tell because they do that thing, man. You can tell. Wait, where was it recorded? D&D. Oh, awesome. Wait, who? Yeah, who was on the vocal? I thought so. Thought so. Oh shit, that was the sample. I didn't realize that was sampled as well. I don't know that track. Let me go and look for that. And so you go look for something, and then you'd hear it and you'd be like, yeah, that's so good. Then you'd get the album, and then you get the other stuff, and you just go deep and deep and
yeah,
deep. And
yeah.
then you've just fallen in love with this new artist. And nowadays, because it's all digital, you don't get that information on Apple or Spotify. You know what I mean? Which is
You don't. But then again, you know, a lot of the, as much as you don't, I don't want to be sort of promoting algorithms generally, but like, you know, for example, a lot of people they just accidentally get it because they're listening to something else on YouTube, and then the algorithm like goes, say someone's listening to Krungbin on YouTube, and then the algorithm just pops Samande up next, and they're like, "What
mm,
is this?" So you know, like I think Lord Kana was talking about that
yes.
in the
Yeah, yeah,
clip,
yeah, yeah.
like how you can still dig now, but it's just different. It's not as magical, and you don't have the kind of pageantry of getting the record, the sleeve, and the liner notes, and all of that. It's different, but it's
Mm,
still possible, you know. And actually,
yeah.
it means that a lot more people who aren't necessarily full on hardcore heads can find them. So you know, it's a there's two sides to the coin, I guess, when it comes to that.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little less, it's a little bit impersonal because
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
in the record shop and you find something, you can turn to the person next, be like, yo, man, I've been looking for this for so long. And it'd be like, oh shit, you got that. Or oh, you might like these too. And so you can have those conversations. You know, when you go up to pay and you're talking to the DJ and be like, yo, this is so, and they'd be like, I might have something else for you. And you'd be like, oh shit, a white label. Oh my gosh. And you know what I mean? Just all of that. You don't get that. But yeah, it's still great. Because that was the thing when the young dude was talking and he was saying how he found it. I was just like, oh shit. The algorithm can be useful. But sometimes I was gonna say, I don't always get that shit, right? A lot of times they'd be like, oh, you listen to, you might also like, and I'm just like, why do you think I like that? That's nothing like the shit I was just listening to. Are you insane? You know what I mean? That's my algorithm. My algorithm needs to go back to school, but I'm glad it works for some people.
You know, like ultimately, you know, however you find it, as long as you find it, that's what it's all about.
Mm, yeah, and I think this is, man, this is a perfect window for people to find some Monday and then just, you know, because I think you'll fall in love with some Monday, but then you'll also look up all the people waxing lyrical about them. You know what I mean? Because it's the enthusiasm,
Yeah,
right? And if someone is that infused, that's got me interested too. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I'd be like, yo, who's this Maceo cat? You know what I mean? If you don't know, which is a travesty in itself. But yeah, no, I think this documentary is gonna be like, oh man, every head is gonna own this documentary. That's what I'm feeling, man.
Oh man, I hope so because you know we've got a wicked double disc Blu-ray coming out. You know, physical media still exists, and the Blu-ray we've got all sorts of cool extras on there. Like we've got extended Jazzy J mixing in his basement. We got
Ooh.
Cut Chemist just listening to the records and chatting about them. We've got all sorts of cool extra little nuggets in there. You know that anyone who wants to get the DVD, they should check them out. So yeah, physical media is not dead yet.
Jesus Christ, Tim, are you trying to take all my money? Come on, man.
Mate, I need to get my money back.
Oh shit! I was wondering because when you're having these conversations, you know, with all these cats, it's just like you've got to edit it all down. So yeah, I was thinking, what do you do with all that other footage? So you've repurposed it for the DVD.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of things that you have to lose a lot of stuff that you love when you're editing something like this. You know, you can't. You know, people aren't going to sit through a 2.5 hour doc about, you know, someone they don't know, even though they probably should. And so there's stuff that you lose, and also stuff that is great but isn't serving the story necessarily.
Mm.
And you need to kind of move on quicker. And you're gutted when you do it. You know, they call it kill your darlings. You know, and you do. You have to kill so many darlings. There's a bit which I'm really excited for people to see. It's only about a minute long, minute and a half long, but it is the band in the rehearsal studio in the first shoot I did with them, talking about how Bra came about, and then Steve, Sam, and Pablo then just doing the break, like for me personally, in a really tiny rehearsal room, and talking about how it came about. And it's amazing. And but we couldn't use it because we made a kind of decision to kind of separate the band and the music after the band split up, and the music then took on a life of its own. And Bra was like the figurehead song for that in the early days. So having the band then talking about it wouldn't have made sense, because what people are talking about at that point is, you know, the band are gone and they're doing other things. You know, they're getting different jobs and all this kind of stuff, and it's all about what's happening in the States at that point. So we realized that we couldn't put it in, and we were like, oh my god, but this is the best thing ever. And like, I remember when I was there on the shoot day going, this is the greatest moment of my life. They're playing Bra for me. Oh my god! And it's not in the film, so that was one we always were like, we have to get this on a DVD extra, because it is absolutely mint. So yeah, that is banging. That is banging. I'm so chuffed that's going to see the light of day in some form.
Oh,
But
tremendous.
you've got to let stuff go, and it's hard. It's hard. So the opportunity to bring it back, you know, in a different form is really great. You know, I mean, there's still loads of brilliant stuff that will never see the light of day, but you know, that's just the nature of the process. You know.
Yeah, like what is that decision like when it comes to the extras for the DVD Blu-ray? Like, how do you, like, is there a limit that, you know, time wise which you can have, and then you know, what was the selection process?
I don't know if there is what limit there is. You know, like ultimately it's kind of instinctive. Of just there's bits that you just think people might dig, and so you're like, you know, we just sat down, me and Matt, and we just like, right, okay, what bits were we most gutted to lose? There's a bit where Stephen Patrick and Sam are talking about school days, which was beautiful and sad, and you know, just about how they were marginalised and ignored at school. And it was brilliant, and it was some of my favourite stuff. But again, because of time and because we were dealing with those themes in different areas, it never made it in. So that was always one we wanted to put in, because it's something that needs to be heard. You know, it's part of the wider story, of how these guys, you know, across all walks of life, really were kind of marginalised and ignored. So that was something that had to go in. And then just certain things where you're just like, DJ Hollywood, like he just did he did a rap. Oh, he got the Bra on his phone and just started rapping over it, and it's just really funny. And it's only a minute 45 seconds or a minute. You couldn't make it in, because what he was rapping was more about him rather than the story. But again, it's something that, like, man, people got to see this. So stuff became apparent, you know, reasonably. It was reasonably simple process, really, to be honest.
Right. Okay, man. Yeah, no, I'm definitely picking that up now.
Good. Tell your friends.
Oh, for sure. Oh man, I definitely know people that will loved it. Like, after I came out of the screening, I just sent like Brian Dove around to a load of different people. Because I'm just like, because as I said, I've listened to so much music, but I can't recall coming across some Monday. And I must have heard the samples, but I just, for whatever reason, I cannot remember coming across them. So I was just like, yo. And so yeah, I just passed that around. I'm just like, yo, do you know these people? Like, how great is this? And everyone's just like, this is incredible. This
What's,
is
what's
incredible.
so cool about that is, like, there's part of the film is people telling their own stories about how they found them, and like I love that the fact that the film also is going to be part of someone else's story about how they found them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
That's really rewarding, that, because I remember when we started making it was just like, well, look, even if only 10 we get 10 new Samantha fans out of this film, it's going to be worthwhile, you know what I mean? But like, obviously now with the UK release and releasing it in other countries too, it's such an exciting thing to think that we could breed a whole new generation of Samando fans off the back of it, like, because what you want when you're making a film like this is to cater to people who know about the band and can't believe that there's finally a film about them, so they get to kind of have that kind of process, and then but also to create new fans too. So if someone is, so hopefully people who, whether they've loved them for 30 or 40 years or whether they've never heard of them, hopefully they'll both get something out of the film, you know what I mean?
yeah. Oh, for sure, man. For sure. You know, it's yeah, it feels like it's a, a piece of history here, you know? And it's just interesting, just the story, right? That they were all kind of from they were all from the Windrush generation, and they all had that similar origin story, and then they just come together and put out like three incredible albums so quickly.
Yeah,
Like, no
yeah,
one else kind of does that while on tour as well. That's the other crazy thing. They're on tour and they're putting albums out. It's
yeah,
just, man, it's phenomenal.
yeah. It all happened in quite a quick span of time. Those albums, it was all within 2 3 years, and yeah, all the same time they're touring the States all the time. Yeah, it must have been. It was a busy old time for them then,
Mm,
But every time they came back home, nothing was going on, which is kind of why they took that break, which ended up being 40 years in the end.
yeah, yeah. It's funny because a lot of the times it's the other way around, right? Because you'd have an American artist, not big in America, but huge over here.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, because I remember seeing Seasick Steve, I think Reading one year, and yeah, then I found out like he wasn't that big in the States,
yeah.
which
Yeah, been a historical thing. A lot of American artists kind of broke through here first, like
mm,
Jimi Hendrix is a good example of that.
yeah,
Yeah, and it is a strange thing, and also a lot of the old kind of old blues guys were coming over in the 60s and 70s as well, because off the back of the guys like the Stones and everyone like that kind of talking about their influences. But sadly, there was a real prejudice against homegrown like British black talent. Patrick says in the film that they were shopping demos around and people were calling it jungle music.
mm,
But they had no problem with American black artists, but they didn't believe in or want homegrown black talent, which was a terrible thing. And if the band hadn't met John Schroeder, the producer, then we probably never would have heard of them.
yeah,
It probably never would have happened because there's so much talent that never even got a record deal back then. You know, so man, they weren't alone. It's just the fact that they managed to get where they did because they met John Schroeder and he believed in them and he made it happen. With his contacts in the States and all of that. But they're very aware of the fact that they weren't the only ones. It wasn't just them. There was loads of brilliant artists who no one will ever hear because they didn't get a deal. And nowadays, obviously, with the way recording technology and stuff like that, you can put stuff out. If you've got something to say, you can put it on YouTube. But then if you couldn't get a deal, then there was, you weren't going to get heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's still kind of going on. Like, even though, yes, you can use these other platforms to try and elevate yourself, but you still kind of need a bit of a push at times. Like,
Yeah,
I just remember, man, like Lyndon David Hall. Lyndon David Hall was so friggin' talented. It was incredible. And just didn't really get any love. Like, you'd hear him on a specialist show late at night, but not really any other time. Like, Sexy Cinderella was kind of blew up, but it didn't really, and I always thought it was such a shame, because I remember going to the launch of his second album, and he was such a nice dude, like, just so unassuming, you know what I mean? And so it was just such a shame that he just didn't get the success that, that talent
yeah.
deserved.
Well, you're right. It didn't just end in the 70s. It's happened a lot since then. Like the Ruthless Rap Assassins,
Mm.
who are in the film, because they sampled Samande for "And It Wasn't a Dream," which is a brilliant British rap track. They should have been massive. They should have been massive, but in their own way, they were maybe a little ahead of their time, or people weren't quite ready for them, or whatever. So there's stories of legion of people like that, who didn't get the push that they should have done. And yeah, you're right. So you still need that push. You still need to be in the right place at the right time. But I think my point was really just literally that there's music that literally doesn't exist, which we'll
Yeah.
never get to hear from back then. You know what I mean? Like, which is a travesty, really.
Yeah. Oh man, it really is. But I think this really is that kind of story of, man, just push, just keep on pushing, and it it could happen. You know what I mean? Like, and then
It might take 50 years, but it could happen.
yeah, I mean, that's the thing, because I always think, right, the opportunities might not be here at the moment, but I'm gonna make myself ready so when they are there, I can grab them straight away. You know what I mean? And so it's just like they put out those albums, and it didn't catch fire. But they could have just been like, you know what, fuck it, we're done, and none of this would have happened. But they still had that love for music, and so when the opportunity came up again, they made it work. It was like, my man, he hadn't picked up the saxophone in,
Yeah,
which was insane. I thought, that's insane, because even if you're not playing in the band, I'd think you'd be playing, right?
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
hadn't
yeah.
picked
But
it
he
up.
was just like, "Nah, I'm done. Won't be an
Yeah.
electrician." And then uh, they persuaded him, "Come on, man, it's time." He had to relearn how to play. It says in the film
Mm.
that he hadn't used those muscles for years. So after the first rehearsal, his face basically swelled up.
Yeah.
He hadn't used those muscles in 40 years.
Oh man, because I really wanted to play the sax and the trumpet. Like, after watching Mo Better Blues, oh man, I just fell in love. And like, I wasn't able to play them because, man, I could hardly see. So the music was too far away with, like, the trumpet and things like
Uh,
that. So, man, I couldn't. But I just remember in that film, because he got punched in the face, and so his lips all got fucked up, and he wasn't able to play the same. So it's just like, just thinking about that, and then having to relearn it, that's just a feat in itself, man.
yeah,
That's
and I
just,
remember the first time we filmed with the band around a gig. I hadn't met Derek before. Derek is an amazing, lovely guy, quite shy, and kind of tried to avoid the camera for the first few times we were there, but we'd always just find him like in a corridor or in a cupboard or behind somewhere or doing whatever, just doing little bits, just practicing. It's almost like he'd started again and he couldn't stop, or he was worried that he needed to make sure he could still play. But it was brilliant. Every time I walk around a corner, Derek's just there doing a little scale. He's a legend, the legend. He avoided doing interviews for a long time as well. Because he's really shy, and so it took quite a lot of kind of gentle persuasion for us to get him to agree to do it. And I'm so glad he did, because he's someone who doesn't say a lot, but when he says something, you need to hear it.
Yeah.
He's got a real kind of quiet wisdom about him. And again, as part of the joy of it all is that each of the main characters, the 6 original guys, that they're all just so compelling in their own way, and it kind of, I think, sums up maybe why the music is the way it is, because they all bring their own sense of self to it. They're all different, but also coming from a shared experience, and so that kind of melting pot of influences and the blend of personalities kind of created that magic.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, coming into this, right? What did you envision being the hardest part, like the challenges that you might have to try and overcome?
Try and remember back what I was thinking in 2017. I was very naive about how hard it would be, because I had done TV documentaries, and TV documentaries, you get a commission, they give you the money, you go and make it, then you go and do another one. So we knew this was a feature documentary. There was too much to it that it couldn't be done on a little TV hour, and also we also knew that commissioners wouldn't commission it because it's not about someone famous, and that was the way the winds would blow in that direction. So I think my main naivety at the time was about how it's not about the making of it in terms of the creative side. It was everything else. It was well, how are we going to pay for it? I don't know. We'll work that out when we get to it. You know what I mean? But you do it step by step. I think if I knew then what I now know about how hard it is to get a film made, I probably wouldn't have done it. Do you know what I mean? Just because you've got to learn as you go, but because you're doing it incrementally, it's okay, because you're like, right, I need to learn about the legal side of things now. I need to learn about how I've got to do this and da-da. But because it's not like all being downloaded at once, you're able to do it. So the learning process has been massive and very steep. But in terms of the making of it, I knew that the story was great. I knew the music was great. And I knew that the kind of context was important. So I knew that what we had was potentially great. It was just up to us to try and go and deliver it, really. So, but yeah, I mean, the hardest thing has always been, ultimately the boring shit, where you've got to try and find some fucking money and how you're going to pay for this shoot. The logistics of how you, getting interviews, getting shoots, tricky to pull together, especially when I'm not being paid. So I've got my own schedule of other work that I'm doing. So just balancing all of those plates was really the biggest challenge. But one of the biggest things no one could have expected, because it was COVID.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so we just done our first rough cut just as COVID kicked off. And, when you do a rough cut, it's basically the first opportunity to see what you're missing. And you're like, man, we haven't done disco properly. We need to go to New York, man. We got to go and interview Nicky Siano, and we need some more kind of younger people, so it's not just middle-aged dudes talking about it, because we know that younger people are into them too, because they're at the gigs. So, then COVID kicked off, and and a lot of our work went, and so it was just a complicated time. And then 6 months we just parked it, basically didn't touch it for 6 months until everything played out. We kind of worked out how it might be possible to film in America without being in America, which essentially was, I'm in this room on the laptop interviewing over Zoom, but I've got a local crew filming it in the room in Houston or New York or wherever, which meant that we could still film without being there.
Right. Oh, that's an interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting. So I was sat here interviewing Cranbin and Louis Vega and people like that, you know, which was, I'd much rather be in the room, but man, ultimately you got to do what you got to do, you know, to get it done. And
But I'll say though, Tim, would not have guessed you weren't in the room. Like
yeah, well,
the
that's
way
like,
that all of that happened, that energy, it felt like, yeah, everyone was up in that room.
yeah, and like, you know, luckily we hooked up with a really brilliant crew over in the States who managed to get the technical side of it sorted, and then I'm still chatting to them, and there is, you know, and the engagement from people is what makes it work, you know. Like if you're interviewing someone who doesn't want to be interviewed, or they've got no real interest in what the subject is, then that's going to come across. But you know, despite me being thousands of miles away, the enthusiasm for the subject was what kind of brought the energy to people, I think, you know.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, definitely showed. Like, what was it like after parking it for that time to come back to it? Like, do
It
you
was
have
good.
kind of
It was good. It was really good. It was useful. In fact, I think I would build in 6 months, but I think any big job I do now, I would build in a good month to just leave it alone and come back to it with fresh eyes. Because when you're on the floor, you've been working on something for 6 months, editing it, and you're beholden to certain things. You can't see quite clearly in the way that you need to see. So after a rough cut, you send it to other people so you can get fresh eyes on it. So look, you know, what are we missing? You know, what isn't working for you? What, you know, all this kind of stuff. Because you get people you trust who understand the process. They give you thoughts and notes, which you can either agree with or not. But you kind of want to at least usually take together themes of what, if there are any common themes that are kind of problem areas, you'll definitely dig into them. But actually, when you leave it for 6 months yourself, you come into it and it's like watching it as someone else. It's incredible. You're going, what the hell are we doing there? Why the fuck's that in there? I need to get rid of that. So it really helped. It really helped because, especially me as a director, I definitely was beholden to stuff for the wrong reasons in some areas, you know. Like,
right?
so I'd have like Matt, the editor, going, I don't think we need that, and I'm like, yeah, no, we do, and it's because for something inside me is either kind of thinking, oh, because everyone has such a great day on the shoot that day, or he was really nice, I don't want to lose him. You know, you kind of like, you're thinking it from a kind of personal point of view rather than a what's best for the story kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know. And so, you know, I think editors, there's a guy called Walter Murch, who brilliant editor and sound designer and director. He wrote this wicked book called "In the Blink of an Eye," and he said that what he does is he builds into his contract that he sends directors off on holiday, or directors have to go on holiday for a month before they come into the edit room with him, like, because he doesn't want them coming in with their idea of what happened on set and how funny one take was because they laughed at it, but so they're trying to force things in that shouldn't be
Yeah.
in, because of memories and muscle memory and stuff that happen on set. So yeah, I think it's really important actually to take that step back so you can come at it again with fresh eyes, for sure.
Man, that really does make perfect sense. It really does. Like, what was this process like compared to you doing the football and the TV documentaries? Like, what I mean is, how much did you have to change who you were, like your approach to these things, to tell this story differently to get what you actually wanted to get?
I just had to generate it more myself in terms of moving the process on. Like, so if I didn't get up, I remember if I was thinking to myself, if I get up in the morning and do something to move this process on today, this film's never going to happen. Because ultimately, for the next couple of years before it goes into the edit. If I don't move it forward, it's not going to happen. So that was the big pressure. The onus is on you, because you don't have the support network as well. Like, you know, when I'm doing TV docs, I've got a bigger support network of people, production managers and researchers and other people who take on other elements of the process. But I ain't got the money for that. So I've got to do all of that. I've got to book everything. I've got to do all the phone calls, all the emails. I've got to do literally everything. So that was the biggest difference. It was just like, yeah, it's on you, man. You just got to do it. And if you don't do it, it ain't going to happen. In terms of the creative process, the principles still apply. You know, I'm still trying to tell stories in the same way. It's different when it's longer. You got, you know, if telling a story in 45 minutes, 90 minutes, for some reason, and I can't quite get that to the bottom of why, the extra running time makes it so much more complicated to nail in the edit. I think it's because there's more story that you can choose to tell or not tell, especially a story that isn't in the public eye or in the public domain. If you're doing a story about a sports person, you kind of know what the narrative of it is already, really. You know what I mean? They started here and they finished there, or, you know, and how you structure that is up to you. You might start at the end and then go back to the beginning or whatever.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you've got certain beats. You know, anyone who makes it is going to hit. Like any sport doc that I did, I know 10, 15 other people who could have done it, and they would have. The story would have still been the same. It's just how it was told would have been different.
Yes.
The bells and whistles, you know, what music was used, and what cameras were used, and what, you know, the editing might be slightly different. But ultimately, you would watch it and get pretty much the same out of it in terms of what the story was. Whereas this, you're finding it as you go. That's the key. You're finding this story as you go, because you're going on a journey of discovery and ultimately bringing the audience with you. You know, I think that's the biggest difference.
Right. And was it easy to embrace the new creative freedom that you had, or did that feel a bit weird at first?
No, it's good. It's good because you want to be able to do it your way, you know, and that's why we did it the way we did it. You know, like, we didn't want to take it to a streamer or wherever, someone who's then going to have editorial control over it and try and make us tell it a different way. We're going to tell it our way, like live or die. However it turns out, this is the one we wanted to make, and but also it's the film we wanted to make, but the film that the band needed to be made. You know, like, and I didn't want to fuck with that, man. It was important for us to do it our way. You know.
Yeah. What was it about the time limit, right? Did you, when you started, did you say this has to be 90, or did it just feel like once it was all done, that's all that was needed?
You always want to aim for 90 when you're doing a documentary, feature doc. You know, not all of them are 90 minutes. Some are more, some are less, but 90 is always kind of what you're aiming for. I think when it's a story about a subject that people don't know, it's a harder sell to distributors and people who might put it on. If it's more than that, they might be like, hold on a minute, why are you making a 2-hour documentary about someone I don't know? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but again, with the way the streamers are now, things are changing. If you know, that they'll happily take a series on a sportsman now rather than a one. They'll have 4 episodes on David Beckham or Robbie Williams or whatever. So, but I just think that for us, we wanted it to be 90 minutes. You always want to leave people wanting more rather than less, you know. But funnily enough, when we did the first cut, and I was in that process of not wanting to lose anything, it was an hour and 48 minutes the first cut,
Right.
and at that point, we were going to ourselves, yeah, no, we can go over 90 minutes. It's fine. I couldn't lose any of that. Couldn't lose any of that. No, it's be fine. Yeah, 1 hour 45, that'd be fine. People would be fine with that. You're just telling yourself that it's fine. And then obviously the notes you're getting from your mates are going, it's a bit flabby, definitely lose a bit here and there. And then you come back 6 months later, you're like, oh my God, yeah, lose that. Yeah, it feels like if you can fit the story into 90 minutes, I think is an ideal thing, but it doesn't mean you have to.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like, once you had it completed, with some of those people that you were speaking to early on who, maybe didn't want to finance or help out, like, did that all change?
No.
Ah,
No.
interesting.
We premiered it South by Southwest. Got loads of interest in it. But at that point, we'd only cleared the archive and the music for festivals, and we needed to find a lot more money to clear it for worldwide all media. Because when you pay an archive a certain amount for festivals. It's about
Right.
20% of what you have to pay ultimately if you want to release it worldwide. So it means that the aim is that you get it to the festival, someone comes in, they advance you the rest, they buy it, off you go.
Yeah.
But the market has changed so much, even since we first started making this film. The market has changed so much that no one wants to put up the money, like big money, anymore. They want everything cleared before they'll kind of talk to you, really.
Right.
So that put the onus on us to find, oh man, another 150 grand or something like that.
Oh my
so,
God.
so yeah, it's so even when you finish it, it's not finished. And that's why it's taken a while for it to be fully released after we had the premiere in 2022 South by, because people were like, yeah, I mean, we love it, we want to release it for you, and we'll do it, rev share, we'll all split the profits. You're like, yeah, that's wicked, but we sort of need loads of money first. And they're like, oh, all right, cool, give us a shout when you got it. So you're like, oh, all right then, shit, okay, all right, yeah, leave it with me. Look behind the sofa, see if I've got any. So yeah, so that side of it was reasonably challenging, but like the whole process, you just got to put one foot in front of the other until you get there, and
Right.
that said, also a lot of people have been very, very. It's not like we just done it without any help. We've had loads of help from loads of people who believed in it, believed in the story, and pushed us along and helped us get there. So it's that basically there's a lot of interest in a lot of people to get this thing out there because they believe in it. They believe in the story, they believe in the music, they believe in the band. So loads of people have helped us in that regard. But yeah, it's not easy, and the market is messed up at the minute. There's no doubt. The streamers, they're the ones with the big money, but they put the big money into the short things.
Yes.
They much rather give $20 million to do a Taylor Swift documentary that they know is going to make massive money
Mm.
than put in a $500,000 or whatever it is to a music documentary about a band they haven't heard of. There's kind of, and I can understand that, but it's just the nature of the way it is. And also the way of making money is harder now because the DVD market, we were talking about DVDs earlier, the DVD market is pretty much dead compared to what it was 10 years ago. 10 years
Mm.
ago, you make a lot of money on getting your money back on DVDs, and that's not there now. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't do it for the money. That's not why we did it. I hope for our investors, of which I am one of them, I hope that we'll make our money back and hopefully get everyone a little bit of profit. But that'll be a process over a few years. It's not all going to happen at once.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, it's about getting out there. It's about people knowing about the story, people engaging with the film, engaging with the music, and that's where it starts, and then everything else hopefully follows from that.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing because I know at the beginning, right, when all these streaming platforms started popping, people were like, "Oh, this has changed everything." right? This is opening up so many new opportunities, but it's different, but it's still the same, right? Because everyone still wants that sure thing. Everyone still
Yeah,
is still hesitant on taking a chance on something new, even if it's just like, oh, it's a great story. Oh yeah, yeah, but how many people know it? And it's just like we don't really want to do all the legwork on promoting it. So you need to come in with a huge base from the giddy up.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of commissioners now, the first thing they'll do when they get a pitch is go and see how many followers these people have got.
Yeah,
Because it's free advertising.
yeah,
It's 100 million followers. That's like, well, they can advertise to the world for free. So yeah, it's but you just got, if you want to tell the story, you just got to go do it, man. And if you believe in it, you just got to believe that when you're told that it's crazy and you're off your head, fuck it, I'm doing it anyway. That's the point. That's what we did. Like, we're daft enough just to ignore all of the noise and just go, yeah, just fuck it, we're doing it. And we've
yeah.
done it, and it's happening, and I still kind of can't believe it. I'm so long. I'm like, is it really coming out now, or really? Surely not. It's such a weird thing, but no, we're proud that we managed to push through and get the thing out because it deserves to be out there. The band, I just want the people to know the band, man. That's what it's all about for me. You know.
Mm.
And the band are touring this year. They're recording a new album.
Ooh.
They're got all sorts of great plans happening this year. In lockstep with the film release. So they're going to be making a lot of noise this year, and that's really rewarding for us just to see that we might have helped a little bit in keeping the name out there, keeping the music out there.
Man, well, that's music to my ears because I was I gotta say, I was pretty friggin' jealous watching this and then just seeing the gigs and being like, God damn it, I would have loved to have been there, man. Man, I can't believe I missed this. So, hey,
Get yourself down to Shepherd's Bush in April, man. They're headlining at Shepherd's Bush Empire in April. There's few tickets left. Not many, so you better hurry up. But yeah,
oh
down there, I'll be there.
boy, I've got to try and scrape together some ducats then.
With that
Oh,
and Blu-ray, man, I'm going to be rinsing you after this podcast.
oh shit! I wish I could go sell my hair. You know.
Well, me too.
Oh man, but no, that's some perfect synergy there though, because yeah, once people see this, they will want to, what I mean, hear more music. They want to see them live. So that's just perfect.
Yeah, and that's what we've been working really hard. Like their manager Keith, he's based in New York. He's an absolute hero. And me and him have been working very, very closely together just to make sure that we're hitting all our marks together. You know what I mean? He's been planning a new album with them for a couple of years, but just kind of waiting for this film to finally get made. He's been very patient with me. Where like, what's going on? I'm like, yeah, no, not yet, not yet. give me a few months. Give us a few months, And so he's on all the conversations that I'm having with our various like other partners to when it comes to press stuff and all of that. So yeah, so that's the plan, man. We're gonna make as much noise and shout from the rafters about this band this year. 2024 is going to be a big one for them, I hope.
Woo! Tremendous. Oh man, it's fantastic, man. Tim, I am so glad you made this documentary, man. I am
Thanks.
so glad. It was just so joyful watching it, and like I thought this was going to be a great conversation because just with the way it was done, the people you got to kind of contribute and everything like that. So I'm just like, yo, this motherfucker knows his music, man. He must know his music. Like, I'd be disappointed if I come on and be like, yo, it's a Monday, and be like, yeah, no, I just thought I'd do it. You know, I usually listen to Robbie Williams, but you know what I mean, this just came up. I'd be like, yo, what? What's happening here?
Yeah, man, music's part of my life, and it always has been. It's a huge part of my life. But yeah, I mean, to get to do a film like this with these dudes who are, you know, music heroes of mine, the band, and everyone else, man, it's just been, yeah, it's been the greatest thing I've been involved in my career by a mile, and it makes all the hard time worthwhile because it's like, man, I can't believe I'm doing this. You know, I'm on stage with Sando and MC Solar doing Bouge de la. I'm going,
Oh God, that bit. Because I remember Salah from back in the day, man.
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved, like, never understood what the fuck he was saying, but it's the flow.
Yeah, I remember on the
Oh my
Guru
God.
Jazzmatazz albums and that as well.
Mm.
Yeah, man, absolutely. MC Solar, wicked, man, so good, and the fans were going absolutely mental because he's huge in France. He's
Yeah.
massive. He's like the godfather over there, you know. So that was just fire. That, although my ears are still ringing from that gig, and I'm not even joking. My ears started ringing after that gig, and they never stopped.
Oh shit.
Tinnitus on that gig, man. So this film has left literally a physical imprint of my life.
Oh fuck, man.
But it was
Oh.
worth it though.
Oh shit, you must be like the legend of the friend group right now because you know what I mean, being like, yo, Tim, we know you're shooting some Monday. Like, can I come along? Can I? You know what I mean? Oh shit.
Some of my mates are in the film, like, at the gigs. You know, like a great mate of mine, Dazza. He gives me legal counsel, and he's one of my best mates, and he's also a massive Samande fan, and he's there at Brockwell Park in Brixton, getting down at the end, you know. So I've got a few mates in the film, and my mates were very patient with me because I think they must have been fucking bored shitless. Like, I've got nothing else to talk about for the last 6 years. Hey man, what are you doing? Oh, you know, Samande. Right, you're good, are you? Yeah. But no, they've all been hugely supportive, my mates, and they come to you know, we had a premiere, a Brixton premiere in just over a year ago at the Ritzy, and that was amazing, man. Because obviously the band are from there. I live in West Forward now, and you know, my friend, look, I've got 25 years of friend groups all who live in this area, so it was like a proper homecoming for all of us, and all my mates were there. And it was brilliant. That was a great night. We all went to Prince of Wales afterwards and had a few beers. And so yeah, they come along for the ride, man. A lot of my mates and you know, the family. I've had so much support from everyone because it's hard. It is hard when you put yourself in this position. Sometimes you're like, oh my god, what am I doing here? I feel like I'm sinking in quicksand here. And you know, the belief you get from friends and family. You know, I've been very lucky to have that, and you know, they've all helped me. You know, through this process. You know, them and Matt, especially Matt, who edited the thing, lived with the massive weight of this inside his head for 2 years, you know, and who's been the one with me the whole way. The only person mad enough, I think, as I said earlier, to do this with
Mm. Oh man, yeah, no, it's fantastic. It's really is. When can people see it? Right, that's the big question, man. When
me. Yeah,
can
so we got a preview screening where the tickets are, there's not many left now, which is great, at the NFT one on the BFI South Bank. That's on the February the 13th. Sure, I don't know whether this will be going out before then, but tickets might well be sold out. But after that, it's going to be in cinemas, selected cinemas from February the 16th, and then Blu-ray and BFI player from February 26th.
boom. There you go, people.
Yeah.
Mark those dates in the calendar, because you will not want to miss this, right? And how can people keep track of everything you're doing, right?
So yeah, the Samande movie on Instagram and Twitter. I'm going to be updating everyone on everything, and including the band's movements, because everyone's got to come and check them out because they're going to be out and about. They're going to be touring Europe, doing a festival circuit. So yeah, Samande official on Insta and Twitter and Facebook as well. So yeah, we'll be making noise, man, for sure.
Boom. Ah, perfect. Perfect, man. This is gonna be your year for sure. For sure. This is gonna blow, man. I just yeah.
So. Although once it comes out, I'm gonna go and live on top of a mountain for a few months, turn my phone off, chill out.
But the question is, what do you follow this up with, man?
Well, that is a good question. There's a year ago, I would have, if you'd said that to me, I would have said nothing. I'm never doing it again. I'm going to do something else. But now I'm not sure yet. You know, I've got a few irons in the fire, but whatever it is, it's got to be a story that speaks to me and that I have to go through the fire again with. You know what I mean? I don't want to just do it for the sake of it. You know, these things are hard, but they're rewarding. But only if you don't believe in it, if you're just doing it for the money or whatever, that's not for me. I need a story that compels me to, you know, run through the walls you need to run through to make these things happen. It's just got to be a great story that's something I feel like, man, this needs to be out there, and I need to be the one to tell it, and I'd be really pissed off if someone else did it. That's basically with this. It's like, man, I really want to see a Samando film, but man, I don't want anyone else to do it.
Well, I mean, the love shows, right? The love honestly shows in the way you did this, and I love the way you constructed it. You know, that we see them at the beginning, and then we cut to the States, and then we just, you know what I mean? It's like that it's, you know, that brush fire, right? Because it's just like, oh, Samande.
Yeah.
And it's just like boom. And then we come like they're back together, baby. And you're just like, oh shit. Because you were so fucking excited, right? Because it's just like, oh, they were doing all of this stuff. We hear the story, we hear how they came to the country, hear all of that. And then you're just like, yes. So what happened? Because I don't know about them. And then it's just like, and then they spit, and you're like, what? And then you just hear everyone just talking about them, like Prince Paul and all them cats being like talking. And you are just like, oh, fuck, man. All that love. Like, this is in. Oh, what, like, but what can happen? And then it's just like, they got back together. Oh shit, yes. You know what I mean? So it's such an emotional ride. Like that's a perfect way to put this together, man. So like you have to make something else. And if you don't, I will track you down, motherfucker. I will come for you.
There's a lot of mountains on this earth, man. You might have to take a while.
I've watched some 14 peaks. I will climb that mountain. No, man. I'm just I'm looking forward to this to drop, and I'm looking forward to what you do next because boy, as I said, you've got a great voice, man, and I cannot wait to see the next thing that you work on.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you. No, it means a lot.
Hey, no worries at all, man. I appreciate your time and I appreciate what you've done. So thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, mate. Good speaking to you.
You too. Look, you too. People, that is Tim MacKenzie-Smith. Go check out Samande when it drops, right? If you're lucky enough to see it at the BFI. If not, right, 16th of February, man, go see it. Go catch Samande live. Go buy the albums. Just immerse yourself in this greatness because it's just going to enrich your life. Tim, thank you. You have been a legend.
Pleasure, man. Good to meet you.
All right. Take it easy, man.
Cheers, dude.